fucking bracket!
What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest review. This is, of course, my review for The Card Counter, which is a 2021 film directed by Paul Schrader. Paul Schrader is the same guy who wrote The Last Temptation of Christ, wrote and directed First Reformed, wrote Taxi Driver, wrote Raging Bull, and wrote and directed Mishima. So, as you can tell by the fact that I own 5 of his movies that he's both written and directed at some point, it's safe to say I'm a big Paul Schrader fan, and that's why just hearing that he directed this film was enough for me to want to watch this movie. I had no clue what this movie was about, hadn't seen a trailer or anything, and then also I knew Oscar Isaac was starring in this. Now, just like a lot of other reviews that I've done in 2020, 2021, I'm not going to explain the premise. You guys can watch the trailer if you guys want, although I will say I kind of advise against it because I do think that this is a film going into as little as possible knowing is honestly the best bet, because when the movie ended, there were a lot of people at my theater that seemed quite disappointed. And I don't know how this movie was marketed. I still don't know how. But I feel like this is a movie that was trying to be marketed towards the masses. And honestly, I think that that was honestly a mistake. This movie doesn't really seem like it's marketable towards mainstream audiences. It is a very slow burn art house-esque movie. I liked this movie. I thought it was good. But there is a constant feeling towards these art house vibes, such as, people turning their heads slowly, many scenes of characters not saying anything, just slowly turning, or, the camera slowly panning in, stuff like that you wouldn't find in, let's say, like a Marvel movie. So I definitely get why some people might not like this movie, but for myself, I was captivated by this movie. I really liked Oscar Isaac's lead performance. Tiffany Haddish, I've heard some people kind of complain about her in this movie, but I personally thought she was good for the most part. I thought it was especially interesting to see that she's best known as a comedic actress, but I thought she did a really good job. Obviously, she's not like Oscar Isaac level, but she's still good. And speaking of Oscar Isaac, I really liked the writing of his character. I thought that it was interesting to see that there were like ticks here and there of like, this character that we've seen these traits before, at least to some extent in other movies. Like, example, Oscar Isaac is like writing in a journal and everything. That reminded me of Ethan Hawke's character in First Reformed, especially with the narration and everything too. But on top of that, the narration also reminded me of his other movies, such as like, obviously like Taxi Driver. And I think it's very interesting to see Paul Schrader be able to write all these different characters and have it where it's like they're kind of similar, but he's able to differentiate itself from each character. And I thought that was really cool. Really like this character study, especially of the lead, and I also found the arc to be very, very interesting. The arc reminded me a lot, honestly, of Freddie Quill in The Master. I really liked it. I thought it was very effective, and the ending, too, I thought was really good. I was surprised, personally, with what happened. I don't want to, have people go into this thinking that there was a big twist or anything, but I was surprised with what happened. And honestly, I really like the cinematography. It's a slow dolly of like a lot of shots. You'll have tracking shots, but then you'll have a lot of shots that, are just a wide angle shot, and it's just kind of like not moving in the slightest. I really liked it. I thought it was interesting, and I also think that the muted color palette was very effective with trying to emulate the tone and the seriousness of the lead character. So I like that too. In terms of negatives, because I know I'm talking a lot about the positives and everything, my thing is this. Although I appreciate the slow burn pacing, I thought that towards the end of the second act, I found myself to be kind of like checking in and out. And I think it's because this movie is more focused on the mood and the characters per se than the plot. There is plot per se, but I do feel like it does kind of like, daddle a little bit in like other directions. And I feel like it almost feels like it goes in other directions about towards the end of the second act. And before it's able to pick itself back up, it does feel like it's kind of like, okay, now what? And, that's something that I'm sure a lot of people probably felt right from the beginning of the movie. But for me, it wasn't something that I felt until towards the end of the second act. But even so, maybe if I rewatch it, maybe I'll appreciate the pacing more in terms of that regards. But before we obviously geared towards the third act and everything that occurred with that, again, I did feel like that was kind of something that was an issue. But besides that, I really don't have too many issues with this movie. I think that it's a very well done movie. Again, it's not for everyone. If you want a character study movie that's a slow burn, I would highly recommend it. But if you want a movie that's like Ocean's 11 or like, other kind of fast-paced movies dealing with this topic, I would highly advise you guys to look elsewhere, because this movie is not that at all. It is not an adrenaline rush in the slightest. It is a carefully crafted character study. And for that, I think it works really well. The Card Counter for me personally, I will be giving a 4 out of 5 star rating, which If it was like a hot sauce rating, it's the good old Louisiana Pure Crystal hot sauce. So yeah, I thought it was good. Again, curious to hear your guys' thoughts down below. I will say there was someone that as soon as the movie ended, they like stormed out of the theater, like freaking out. So know yourself before going to watch this movie, essentially. But guys, the card counter. Did you see it? Did you like it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.